The sun hadn't yet burned away the chill that lay over Dusty Creek when the doors of the Silver Spur Saloon creaked open. Morning light slipped through the slats, painting the floorboards gold and revealing last night's memories. Half-empty glasses, a broken poker chip, and the faint smell of whiskey that never truly left the air. The saloon was quiet now, except for the soft rustle of skirts and the clinking of dishes from behind the counter. Mary Lou Hensley hummed softly as she wiped down a table. She wasn't much older than 23. Yet life had already taught her the hard lessons most men learned too late. She was a saloon girl, not the kind that sold herself for a night, but the kind who sold smiles, songs, and small kindnesses in a town that forgot what those meant. She'd come to Dusty Creek 2 years ago chasing work and a little peace, and though she never found much of either, she stayed, maybe because it felt safer to hide in plain sight than to keep running from what she left behind. She was setting a plate of biscuits near the bar when she saw him, a tall cowboy, stepping through the saloon doors like a shadow with purpose. His hat was dusty, his boots worn, and his coat carried the road story in every faded thread. He looked like every drifter who ever wandered in from the plains, hungry, tired, and half-broken by the world. He paused at the threshold, scanning the room with eyes sharp as a hawk's. Then, quietly, he tipped his hat toward Mary Lou and made his way to the counter. "Morning," she said, her voice soft, careful. "Mornin'," he replied, voice deep but polite. He sat down at the counter and rubbed his hands together, the kind of hands that had known rope and reins, not comfort. "What'll it be?" she asked. He hesitated, his gaze drifting to the chalkboard menu behind her. Eggs, bacon, coffee, biscuits. His stomach grumbled loud enough for her to hear. But when his hand went to his pocket, she noticed the uncertainty in his face. Mary Lou smiled faintly. She'd seen it before, the look of a man counting the last of his coins. "Coffee's on the house this morning," she said, "and maybe I can see what I can do about the rest." He looked up, startled. "Ma'am, I didn't mean to—" She waved him off. "It's fine, cowboy. You look like you've been through more than one rough trail." The man nodded slowly, removing his hat and setting it beside him. "You're kind. Not many are these days." "Kindness don't cost much," she said with a shrug. "Least not around here." As she turned to fetch the coffee, he studied her. The way the morning light caught the gold in her hair, the tired grace in her movements. She wasn't a rich woman, nor one looking to impress, just someone who'd seen too much but still managed to smile. She set down the steaming mug in front of him, and when she wasn't looking, slipped a plate of eggs and bacon beside it. He blinked. "I didn't order—" "You looked hungry," she said simply, moving. "On to polish another glass." He chuckled under his breath, a sound rusty from disuse. "You always feed strangers this way?" "Only the ones that look like they could use it." For the first time that morning, he smiled. Not wide, but genuine. "You don't even know who I am." "Don't have to," she said. "Hunger looks the same on everyone." He ate slowly, savoring each bite as though it were a feast. The coffee was strong, the eggs soft, and the warmth of it seemed to ease something in him that hadn't been at peace in years. Outside, the town began to wake. Wagons rolling down Main Street, dogs barking, the clang of the blacksmith's hammer echoing across the valley. But inside the saloon it was quiet, almost sacred. When he finished, he stood, reaching into his coat pocket. "Let me at least pay you for this." Mary Lou shook her head. "You can pay me next time." "Next time?" he said, brow lifting. "Well," she smiled, "a man's got to eat, don't he?" He nodded, looking down at her for a long moment. "Name's Colt," he said finally. "Colt Rollins." She froze for just a moment. The name tugged at something in her memory. She'd heard whispers of him before. A rancher, a man who once owned land stretching farther than most men ever rode. But those stories said he was gone, vanished after his family was killed in a land dispute 3 years back. Folks said he'd sold everything and disappeared into the desert. Mary Lou blinked the thought away and forced a smile. "Well, Colt, I'm Mary Lou. Guess you'll owe me a breakfast." He gave her a nod, then turned toward the doors. But before leaving, he paused and looked back. "Thank you, Mary Lou." "Not just for the food." She tilted her head. "For what then?" "For reminding me there's still decency left in the world." And with that, he was gone, stepping out into the sunlight that now bathed the street in gold. Mary Lou watched him go, her heart heavy with a feeling she couldn't name. There was something about that man, the sadness in his shoulders, The way he carried the weight of the land as if it belonged to him. Later that afternoon, Dusty Creek buzzed with whispers. The town marshal rode in with a message from the county courthouse. Word spread faster than wildfire. The Rollins name was back on every ranch deed north of the valley. The man who owned half the territory had returned. Mary Lou nearly dropped the glass she was drying when she heard it. Colt Rollins, the same man who'd sat right there that morning, eating eggs she'd paid for. She leaned against the counter, heart pounding. "Well, I'll be," she muttered under her breath. "Guess I just bought breakfast for a king." That night, when the Silver Spur filled again with noise and laughter, her thoughts kept drifting to the stranger, no, to the landowner, who'd looked at her with such quiet gratitude. Something told her that his story wasn't over, and neither was hers. She didn't know it yet, but by morning, Dusty Creek would be changed forever, and the kindness that started with one breakfast would turn into a fight for something much deeper, love, redemption, and the right to start again. As the lamps flickered and the piano played softly in the corner, Mary Lou whispered a silent prayer she hadn't said in years. "Lord, don't let me fall for trouble again." But trouble had already tipped its hat to her that morning, and it had a name, Colt Rollins.